It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're listening, whenever you're watching, I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Holiday Inn and all their beautiful properties. If you got to go travel and you got to stay somewhere, make sure you stay at a Holiday Inn property. My favorites are the Holiday Inn Resorts and Holiday Inn Express. But wait, there's more, because if you stay at a Holiday Inn, we'll get you a Billy C discount. That's right. Just call our toll-free number, 844-603-0364, 844-603-0364. Can't remember the number? Don't worry about it. Just visit the website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the banner. You can't miss it. It's on the right-hand side. And today's show is being brought by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Men in a Play. All are sold, and you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to this show. Just visit barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. And by the way, if you're looking to get a signed copy, just visit the website, billycboxing.com, and click on the book. But anyway, coming up in a little bit, we got some news, an update on Tyson Fury and his opponent for his return to the ring June 9th. Not that impressed. Listen, we knew that he was going to have a tune-up fight. But with all the talk, I mean, Tyson Fury was calling out AJ and Deontay Wilder and anyone else that was a top name, and rumor had he was going to fight Shannon Briggs, which would have been acceptable. But not so sure about his choice of opponent. But we'll get to that a little bit later. I got a couple of emails to read. We got some other news concerning the heavyweight division. No, it's not an update on what we all want to hear, but nonetheless. And we got to discuss the fights. We'll kick off right now with the main fight of the weekend, at least in my opinion. Adonis Stevenson, the WBC light heavyweight champion, fought Badou Jack, and it ended up as a draw. This didn't surprise me. You know, I watched this fight, and I gathered a couple of things from the fight. Number one, Adonis Stevenson is nothing. Nothing. This is a guy that looks like he's never even boxed. The way he delivers his punches and stuff. Now, granted, he's got knockout power. This is why he's where he is. Very critical of Adonis Stevenson and the fact that he's really ducked his way to where he is now. Clearly ran out of gas. However, Badou Jack didn't capitalize. I don't understand. Now, Badou Jack, I think, is a more well-rounded, more talented fighter than Adonis Stevenson. Well, then you say, well, then how come he didn't win, Billy C? Well, that's the problem. I think that the game plan for Badou Jack was a huge mistake. I just do not like or approve of any game plan that consists of giving up rounds purposely. And that's what it appeared to me was the game plan. I mean, they literally gave up the first half of that fight, 6 rounds. Now, granted, I get it. I understand the reason. They were hoping, and it came true, that Adonis Stevenson was going to run out of gas. He did run out of gas, but he found enough left in his tank to make it competitive. If you're going to risk giving up a half a fight, in this case, then you better make damn sure that you can knock your opponent out. You better make damn sure. This is why I like watching fighters like Mikey Garcia and Vasily Lomachenko, because they go out of their way to win the rounds, even if they've taken a round off, which, you know, is an unwritten rule in boxing. Even if they choose to take a round off, they want to make sure that they throw and land more punches than their opponent just to be safe. And at the end of this fight, 2 judges had it, 114, 114, and the third had it, 115, 113 for Badou Jack, the same score that I had. I thought Badou Jack squeaked it out by a round. However, you can't argue with the draw. That's what you get when you purposely give up the first half of the fight. Joining me right now to get his thoughts is my man, Sal Rocky Senecola. What was your thoughts on the fight, Sal?
Well, you know, I use that term ebb and flow, and there was an ebb and flow from both sides. And I do agree with you. No fighter should really give up the rounds. The only one that was really successful with giving up the early rounds was Floyd Mayweather, because he could assess and see exactly what he needed to do to find the weaknesses of his opponent, and he was able to capitalize on it. But, you know, like I said, with that being said, nobody else has really looked to be effective on that level. And I think that Badou Jack blew the fight, or the victory of the fight, by giving up literally almost half that fight. And then he did come on strong. And as he surmised, yeah, Stevenson did run out of gas. And he was able to capitalize on winning those rounds in the later part of the fight, but he wasn't able to put him away or put him down for a 2-point round. But I had the fight 115-115. And the first half of the fight, I gave, let's see, I think I gave the 6th round a draw, and I gave the 4th round to Jack. But every other round I gave to Stevenson, and at the halfway mark I had it 59-56. But then those next couple of rounds, except for the 10th, I gave them all to Badou Jack.
I want to give a shout out to my man Joel. Joel just gave us a super chat over in the YouTube chat room. He says, "Happy Monday. The 2 best guys in boxing, Billy C. and Sal Rocky Senecola." Thank you very much, Joel.
Joel, thank you, buddy.
Sal, how did you get 115-115? You must have scored a couple of rounds, or at least one round, 10-10.
I did. In fact, I'll tell you, I scored 2 rounds 10-10. And it was funny because my score wound up being a draw. I gave the 6th round as a 10-10, and oddly enough, I gave the 11th round as a 10-10. But with that being said, the first half of the fight went to Stevenson. The second half of the fight, the majority went to Jack. So ironically, I came out with a 100%, 115-115.
You know, the thing about it, and even the commentators.
Yes, I know where you're going with this 10.
Well, he said, you know, it was Steve Farhood actually made a point. He says, you know, that's a problem with the 10-point must system. Yeah. He says in the early rounds, although I gave the early rounds to Stevenson, he was squeaking by those rounds. But when Badou Jack won the rounds in the second half, he was beating the snot out of Stevenson. And at the end of the fight, you end up with the scorecards the way they were. And I'm not arguing with the scorecards because the fight was close. I do disagree with what you're saying, what you said about Floyd Mayweather. Even Floyd, I don't think that listen, even fighters that are taking even fighters that take a round off, so to speak, to get their legs back after a rough round previously or a knockdown, you know, I get it. But to purposely give up rounds, this is what ends up happening. And they could say what they want, but Badou Jack clearly gave up the first rounds. And you heard Lou DeVell saying in the corner, I visualized this, I saw it, it's going according to plan. It's always like a manager in baseball. Don't save your ace pitcher for a game you may not even get into. You got to win.
Don't save it for the late round.
Right, you got to win what's in front of you.
Yes.
Every round, and based on our scoring system, every round is like a separate fight. So you should win each round, move on to the next one. If you're worried about conditioning or blowing your load or something, then you didn't train hard enough. You're not prepared for the fight. But another comment I want to make, the referee, Ian John Lewis, and we're going to talk about another referee on our two major fights for this weekend, was extremely biased in this fight. I mean, even Al Bernstein, who never says anything, was complaining. Ian John Lewis didn't warn Adonis Stevenson once that I can recall for holding. And he was holding Badou Jack for most of the fight. When he wasn't throwing a punch, he was holding. Not once did he warn him for holding, but yet he came very close to deducting a point from Badou Jack for hitting below the belt, which, I only saw really one that strayed low. The rest of those body shots were landing flush. Then the one time that Badou Jack kind of held on, he warns them and makes it like he's going to take a point. I can't stand these referees that are swaying the fights. It's not fair. There was no way that Stevenson, with the exception of the first couple of rounds, was in any kind of control of this fight. And I wish that the score would have ended up the way I had it, 115-113 for Badou Jack. I did give him an earlier round or two. But as be as it may, you can't cry robbery at all. It was a close fight. Bad game plan, I think, for Badou Jack.
No, I agree with you. I think, just wishing that he could absorb there was no attack. They were even saying how much, this fight is being, those early rounds were being won by Stevenson just by him being busy. He was the busier fighter. He was throwing 4 punches to one maybe. And, it's funny, Bill. We talk about the 10-point must system at times during fights like this. Could there be a 10-point must system? Maybe a knockdown gets 10-7 round. And maybe you could do a decisive round 10-8. And a narrow or a narrow victory round is a 10-9. Maybe we got to put 10-7 when they get a knockdown. That might give a little buffer with the 10-8 when somebody's clearly dominant. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think that if, what Larry's been preaching for several weeks about using the points. A 10-9 round, a 10-point must system, by definition means that the winner of the round should have 10 points at least. That's it. Now
that's right.
And then you take your deductions from there, whatever. But what's gone down is you waste all the other 9 points unless there's a knockdown. Then they start taking points away. A dominating round should be 10-8. A knockdown in a dominating round could end up being 10-7. Yeah. A squeak by round like in my opinion, that Stevenson was winning early in the fight. Those were legitimate 10-9 rounds because he just barely 10-9. He barely squeaked through. But then some of the rounds that Badou Jack dominated in the second half of the fight, based on what Larry's been saying, should have been should have utilized the points and possibly have been 10-8. But and I got news for you. There was a point in that fight where Stevenson looked like he was ready to go, not only in the last round, but he looked like he was ready to go, and he was held on. And Ian John Lewis, didn't warn him for holding on. And even his corner was saying, "Hold on, keep him away from you." So very unhappy with that. And another thing I was unhappy with is Showtime does this fight. and they bill it as Stevenson and Badou Jack, and the co-main event being Gary Russell Jr. and JoJo Diaz. But they weren't even ringside for the Stevenson fight. You know, I mean, they're calling it from the studio. You know, so again, you know, you're getting these guys with their opinions, including the score. Including Steve Farhood doing the unofficial scoring. They're not even ringside. But anyway, on the Stevenson-Badou Jack card, a couple of heavyweights I wanted to mention. Albanian heavyweight Christian Prenga improved to 8-1 with 8 knockouts when he stopped Ricardo Humberto Ramirez in the third round. Ramirez drops to 14-5 with 11 knockouts, and also in the top 12 rankings by the WBC. Oscar Kaboom Rivas, I love that nickname, improved to 24-0 when he won a 10-round unanimous decision over Hervé Huguenot, who drops to 29-3. The way the judges scored that, 2 had it 100-90, and the third saw it at 99-91. Now jumping to the co-main event on this Badou Jack and Adonis Stevenson card on Showtime. What I thought was the most exciting fight of the weekend. Gary Russell Jr. improved to 29 wins and 1 loss, retaining his title with a unanimous decision over JoJo Diaz. The way the judges scored it, 115-113, and 2 saw it, 117-111. I agree with the 115-113. I didn't think that it was 117-111. I think that JoJo Diaz should have gotten more credit for the body work that he did. However, he lost the fight. I mean, no matter what the score is, he lost the fight. Credit to Gary Russell. He had his foot on the gas pedal from beginning to end of this fight. Looked very good. I don't know how he withstood the body attack by JoJo Diaz. And I love this fight. Gary Russell, if he fought, the same way all the time, how could you not love this guy? What was your thoughts on that one?
Well, I think you just hit on the head. He fought a good fight. He has sustained that level of energy, and he saw the opportunities when he could, and he did win the fight. And JoJo Diaz, though, I'll tell you, that was his first defeat, and he did put up a good fight, and he tried to pull it out where he could. But I think Russell was, like I said, it was a good fight, and Russell came out the victor and retained his title. No, yeah, he did. And I picked JoJo Diaz to upset him. But looking back at my notes, but no, Russell clearly did what he had to do to win, and he did.
Well, he did. He looked fantastic. I think he looked very good, very good. But in any event, talk about refereeing. That referee, Schiavone, was the worst. Hey, listen. No disrespect to Schiavone, but he was terrible. This was a guy that was clearly going and helping Gary Russell Jr. to a degree. He warned Diaz repeatedly for hitting below the belt. He warned him for everything, and he was pushing him and roughing him up. I thought it was a terrible job. I mean, watching him limp around and stuff, whatever problem he's got, I respect that. But as far as playing favorites, it was obvious. It was obvious. I can't stand these freaking referees that make it about themselves. The best referees are referees that I don't even remember their name. No, Schiavone, whatever the hell his name is, was terrible. There's nothing worse than watching a referee who clearly is favoring one fighter. Jack Reese does it all the time. Steve Smoger did it so bad that I wish he was banned from boxing. I mean, it's terrible when you see these referees that, when a fighter should only have to fight the opponent, not the referee. They shouldn't have to fight the referee and the judges and everything else. And that's what was happening to JoJo Diaz and, in a sense, Badou Jack as well. 2 terrible referees ruined, at least my opinion, of 2 very good fights. So anyway, hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we got more fight results and then some. Don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. Programming note, we will not be doing live shows on Thursday or Friday this week, but fear not, we'll be back better than ever on Monday. Yeah, I know it's a holiday, but we will be here on Monday, so make sure you tune in. And speaking of tuning in, don't forget to tune in Wednesday. Our Blast from the Past features James Scott, so you're not going to want to miss that one. And I'm curious to get my man Larry Hazard's thoughts on these referees. And one thing I wanted to add, Sal, about Gary Russell, the dedication that Jojo Diaz gave to the body attack, which I loved, by the way, you got to give Gary Russell credit for withstanding it, because Jojo Diaz was landing some solid, just flush shots to the body. I'm a little bit surprised that Gary Russell did not show any signs of wear and tear to the midsection.
Well, and that's what's so, you body attack, especially in those early rounds, because you're hoping the dividends pay off later in the fight when the body is starting to slow down, and that's exactly why you keep it up and sustain the level of intensity in those early rounds. And to Gary Russell's credit, I mean, he withstood it, and you didn't see him very much affected in those later rounds as Jojo Diaz was hoping his investment would pay off.
Yeah, well, they never switched gears, though. Shouldn't he have started going after the head or what?
Well, if your body's not going to work, you're hoping it does. You're hoping it does, and part of it also is you're banging the body, because if a fighter is knowing that you're going to be going to the body, he's bringing his elbows down, he's bringing maybe his hands, he's blocking those punches, and you're going to catch him. Maybe if there was a few feints to the body and then bang up to the head, that might have made that opening available and for Diaz to take advantage of. But, I didn't see that incorporated too much. You know what I do miss, too? I don't see as many fighters using the feint, doing that much today. Maybe I'm just looking for it or so. But I think a few more feints or so, if you're sustaining a pattern and you're banging the body and you're waiting for either hands to drop or the legs to tire, and if it's not happening, you got to start feinting. You got to start pretending. You got to start making it happen and forcing the fight.
With some of these decisions, I faint myself, but
you do. Don't
in any way,
smelling salt.
In another big fight, in an upset, featherweight in the featherweight division, Josh Warrington improved to 27-0 with 6 knockouts, and he picked up the IBF Featherweight World Championship when he won a split decision over Lee Selby, who drops the second fight of his career. He's now 26-2 with 9 knockouts. The way the judges scored it, one had it 115-113 for Shelby, while the other two saw it 115-113 and 116-112 for Josh Warrington, giving him the decision. This was an extremely entertaining fight. I mean, we had 2 boxers. We knew that this fight was going to go the distance, or at least we thought we did, especially when you look at 2 fighters and combined they only have 15 knockouts. But this had some drama. There was some serious cuts involved. Lee Selby, in my opinion, got beat up, and Warrington, performed in front of his home crowd and got the victory. So I was wrong on that one. I had picked Selby. I was wrong on the Russell. I picked Diaz, and thank God the Jack Stevenson fight ended in a draw, because I would have been wrong for that one too. I picked Jack, so almost 0 for 3 for me. Some other fights for a former European super featherweight champ and currently ranked at number 6 by the IBF. Italiano Davis Basharo improved to 46 wins, 5 losses, and a draw when he won the previously unbeaten Farouk Korobanov a 12-round decision to pick up the European title. Korobanov drops to 15-1. The fight took place in Italy. Some other fights that I want to mention real quickly. 2016 bronze medal winner in the flyweight division, Nico Hernandez, improved to 5-0 with 4 knockouts when he stopped Sylvester Caneladas in the first round. 2 minutes and 52 seconds of the first round. Caneladas drops to 14-8. There was a heavyweight fight on that card as well. I want to mention Andre Fonin took care of Pedro Rodriguez. The fight, he was battering him for the first couple of rounds, and then the fight was waved off before the start of the third round, quitting on his stool. The official time was 3 minutes of the second round. Fonin improves to 6-0 with 3 knockouts. Rodriguez drops to 23-5 with 19 knockouts. Also taking place over the weekend, Hiki Budlar improved to 32-3 with 10 knockouts when he won and kind of upset Ryoichi Taguchi in Japan. Taguchi drops to 27 wins, 3 losses, and a couple of draws. The way the judges scored it were all the same, 114-113 in a very entertaining fight. And also in Tokyo, IBF mini flyweight, junior flyweight, Hiroto Kayaguchi improved to 10-0 with 7 knockouts. Despite hitting the deck in the third round, he won a unanimous decision over Vince Porras, who drops the first fight of his career. He's now 13-1. Heavyweight roundup, something we started doing several weeks ago, and I'm glad because it gets us a chance to meet and at least hear about some of these heavyweights that we may see pop up, all of a sudden ranked and become a mandatory. So it's good. That
What do you mean? What do you mean all of a sudden?
Yeah. Well,
you don't think they have to work that way, work their way towards that.
Not anymore. But in Australia, Habib Vuctina making his pro debut, a successful one. He improves to 1-0 with a first-round knockout over Milos Dovdan, who drops to 2-37. That fight took place in Austria. I'm sorry, not
2-37.
Yeah, he's on his on his comeback.
Somebody's got to look at that and look at the medicals. Maybe get a little.
Well, fighting a pro debuter, that's cool. That's an experienced guy.
That's cool. But I remember a time like that. They would the boxing commissioners would question a record like that, like just to see how this guy's absorbing all these all these punches or losses without having any ill effects. But it's not for me to judge or test. But boy, that's.
Well, the one thing, hey, listen, I hear what you're saying, and providing he went through the right medicals, and we are talking about Austria, so I'm not familiar with their rules.
No.
But here's the thing. A guy that's got a record of 2 wins and 37 losses, he's still got 39 professional fights fighting a pro debut guy. Now, whether he, gets knocked out, I mean, this guy obviously, likes to fall asleep early in fights. But I hear what you're saying. But, 39 professional fights against a guy making his pro debut. We learned with Vasily Lomachenko that sometimes really good amateur careers don't necessarily mean that they transfer as a pro very quickly. And a guy that with 39 fights, despite all of them, or at least most of them, being on the losing side, at least I would hope the guy learned something in 39 fights, Sal. I hope so. But anyway, a couple other fights real quick. From Toiki, Ali Aren Deszarin improved to 9-0 when he stopped Tornike Purla in the 4th round of a scheduled 8 round. That's a tough. I'll spell it. PURITCHAMISIASSHVLLI. You pronounce it. He drops to 11.
Write it down.
Yeah,
that's half the alphabet.
It is. The only thing missing is X, Y, and X and Z's. There is a Y. He drops to 11-9. Over in the UK at York Hall, John Pallotta making his pro debut, a successful one, improves to 1-0 when he stopped Alexei Spazov in the second of a scheduled 4-round fight. Spazov drops to 1-1. And one of the other fights that took place on the Nico Hernandez undercard that I missed, Alexander Telekenko improves to 13-0 when he stopped Terrence Marber in the second of a scheduled 8-round fight. Marber drops to 9-6. So that's what took place in the big fights over the weekend, Sal. But, I'm noticing an infusion of heavyweights. The heavyweight division is a little popular, so we start to see more fighters fighting in the heavyweight division.
Well, and that's a good thing. And, especially if you can have 5. We'll see what happens. But no, we got to keep our eye on some good developing heavyweights, because I'll tell you what, I think the heavyweight field, especially after it's finally announced and we have the opportunity to see Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua fight, I think that there's going to be scrambling to get in the top 10 and having opportunities to go through the whole contendership process to get a title shot.
Yeah, well, I mean, the right way it should be is climb the ladder, but they got to start somewhere. Anyway,
they got it.
Hold that thought. We got some boxing news, including Tyson Fury's return, and who's it going to be against? Top guy? He was calling out AJ. He was calling out Deontay Wilder. He's calling out, telling Lennox Lewis to come out, saying all this stuff. Is he fighting any top guy? We'll talk about that in about 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors. Hologram USA is an innovative three-dimensional patented technology that shifted the paradigm in media technology. Our patented hologram technology that brought you Tupac and Coachella, Whitney Houston, Billie Holiday, and many more is integrating live performances to bring your favorite past and present entertainers beyond your imagination. Invest in the patented technology before the banks scoop up all the stock. Invest in Hologram USA today. Hologram USA Flagship Theater, located on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame, is the first of many to come. Call now to be part of the explosive growth. Pick up the phone. Dial the number on your screen now. Invest in Hologram USA today. Call the number on your screen right now to learn about this investment opportunity.
Call 800-624-1673. 800-624-1673. Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
Undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. Don't forget, programming note, we will not, I repeat, we will not be doing a live show on Thursday or Friday of this week, but we will be doing a live show on Monday, which is a holiday here in the States. So Thursday and Friday will give you guys a chance to catch up on any shows you may have missed. Dax Khan is scheduled to join us here in about a half hour. give his thoughts on the fights from the weekend, Sal. But first, Tyson Fury has never been short of, making comments and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, my man Mitch sent me a video of him. He was ringside and he was wearing these bright red pants, sort of like the pants you wear around the restaurant and stuff. I mean, I was saying
that's just tomato sauce.
Oh, I see. That's good. That's good. That was quick. That was good. But Tyson Fury, who has had an up and down career, at least you can say that, hasn't fought for almost, definitely over 2.5 years, close to 3. And, he got really fat, and we all know the story. But he's in really good shape right now, and he's fighting on June 9th. He's a former world heavyweight champion. He's 25 wins, no losses. He's still only 29 years old. He won't be 30 until August of this year. 6'9", okay? He was the first guy to beat Klitschko, recent times, and then Klitschko, as we know, lost to Anthony Joshua. But aside from Klitschko, a couple of names on his career. Steve USS Cunningham was small, moving up. Joey Abel is nothing much from Minnesota. Kevin Johnson had never been stopped going into that fight, and he was a player at some point. Derek Chisora, he had a couple of fights. But to be honest with you, and he had some good fights against tough guys like Martin Rogan, Zach Page, Nikolai Furtha, Nevin Pikic. But no big names except for Klitschko. And, he's talked a lot of smack. And, he got in shape. He's in really good shape. There's no question about it, or better shape than he was in. And he changed trainers, et cetera, et cetera. And, when he announced his comeback, he was calling out Anthony Joshua. He's calling out, Deontay Wilder, all of these guys. And we all knew, Sal, that he wasn't going to jump right to one of those guys. I mean, you can't do that. It's too risky, even if he was just doing it for the check. But rumor had it that he might be fighting a guy like Shannon Briggs. Shannon Briggs, overrated, 100 years old. I thought that might have been an exciting fight. It would have been a draw. Shannon Briggs is always talking smack, too. It would have been an interesting fight.
Yeah.
They announced his opponent. And, they're trying to spin it that his opponent is a quality guy. It's Sefer Seferi. And Sefer Seferi is, 39 years old, so he's no spring chicken. He's got 24 professional fights under his belt, 23 wins. He only lost one time.
Okay.
He's got 21 knockouts. His only loss came to Manuel Char, who's now actually the WBA regular heavyweight champion.
Oh, regular.
But here's the thing.
Regular. I like to see you regular.
Me too. Seferi is ranked at number 66 in the world at cruiserweight. This guy never fought at heavyweight. He fought twice in recent years.
Whoa. Come on.
He fought twice in recent years at heavyweight. In 2015, or actually 3 times, because I don't know if this was a cruiserweight fight or not, but he fought a 2-6 guy at 200 pounds. That's technically a heavyweight in Radenko Kovac. He also fought Manuel Char in 2016. He weighed 212. And in his last fight, he fought in the heavyweight division Laszlo Hubert, who was 50 wins, 23 losses, and a draw. He weighed 202 pounds. Now, Tyson Fury is 6'9", okay? And guaranteed, even if he's in top shape, he's going to come in weighing 260 pounds. What do you think of this choice of opponent, Sal? I mean, we understand that it's a shake the ring off, but shouldn't he have been a legitimate heavyweight at least? What's your thoughts?
Well, you know me, Bill. I'll agree on that level. It should be a legitimately established, bona fide, real heavyweight. I mean, the scale tells the tale of the tape, and if you're over 200 pounds or 200 pounds or more, you are considered a heavyweight. And I do like when I see a smaller fighter in the ring, because I think there's a lot of advantage. Believe it or not, for me, I was always being a smaller fighter, so you can move, you bob and weave, you work your way in, you get in his body, you bring it up, you do things. Sometimes when you could do that, now I'm not so sure that he can do that against Tyson Fury. I don't know. I think they should have gotten a more recognizable heavyweight, maybe somebody literally in the top 5 out of 10. If he wants a fast track to get back into title contention, I mean, that's how he's got to do it. Tyson Fury.
Right. I mean, but not that small. See, that to me, that's almost, and I get it. I mean, I even was involved one time when I had a fighter who weighed 202 pounds fight another heavyweight who weighed 245 pounds. And even though that by definition they were both heavyweights, the commission felt that the weight difference was too much and would have posed a danger for the smaller guy and wouldn't have proved the fight. This all happened at the weigh-in. It was unbelievable.
Well, that's a good point, Bill. And, the commissioners will be aware of the disparity between the weights, and maybe they'll try to say something before then later. We'll see.
The argument's going to be exactly what you said. Heavyweight division's 200 pounds or above, and this guy's going to say, oh, I like the movement, I like this, I like that. But let's make no mistake, at 200 pounds, I don't have his height. His height's not listed, but I know he's nowhere near 6'5", 6'4". If he is, he's going to look like a really skinny guy. I'm thinking this guy's like 6 foot, 6'2". So Tyson Fury is going to have an advantage, at least 50 pounds, maybe 40 pounds, and at least 40. I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer to 50, and he's going to have at least a 6-inch height advantage, at least. Which also means a huge reach advantage. I think I understand that you got to fight, an easy opponent, so to speak, or what may appear easy.
Calculated risk.
Okay, but you need to fight a guy similar in size to heavyweights. First of all, this guy's 39. That's a whole nother issue. He's 39 years old, fighting a way bigger guy. I mean, everybody seems to be looking at the Tyson Fury point. Hey, he's been off for 3 years, give him a break, blah, blah, blah. But what about the safety of the opponent, Sarifi? I mean, how does that happen? So I don't know. I don't know if it's if it's an opponent that makes sense, especially, my big hang-up with these fighters, and don't get me wrong, I'm a Tyson Fury fan, but I can't stand these fighters that talk the smack and don't even come close to living up to it. And why people even believe him? This guy was calling out Deontay Wilder, calling out Anthony Joshua, said that none of them, that he could beat him with one hand tied behind his back. Remember, he said that. So I mean, here's a guy that says all these outlandish things, and doesn't even come up with a guy that's 6 foot. Dax who's going to be joining us here in about 20 minutes, is informing me in our secret chat room that he's 5'11". The guy's giving up 10 inches. Come on, man. Come on. I mean, that's like you fighting a kindergartner and trying to justify it. I mean, it's. I would be concerned to this guy's safety. Can he even make it to the second round? I don't know.
And by the sound of this fight, no, it should not even go past 3 rounds. However, let's look at it from what's his name? Serafini? What's his name?
Sarifi.
Sarifi. Let's look from his standpoint. Okay, guess what? This is going to propel him right on the world stage, and this is going to be his opportunity to beat a former world champion. So I'd be pumped up for it. I'd say, get me in a ring. I don't care what it is, and let me show the world what I knew I had all along. And I'm going to go in there, and even though I'm supposed to be an opponent, I'm supposed to roll over, I'm going to show everybody how I can move, how I can do this, how I can take a shot, and how I can deliver a shot. And I'll bang that body till he breaks down in half to my level, and I'll knock him out. I mean, that's the attitude, that's the ambition, that's the rise to the reach for the stars and grab the moon kind of mindset and see what happens. But I understand Tyson Fury, with all of his rhetoric or all of his calling out against Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, and he should be more focused or more likely to be in the ring with somebody notable, somebody more recognizable, somebody more active. But like I said, Bill, we know the game. He's coming back after a layoff. He wants to have a little test, but not too much of a test, and he's going to predictably maybe come through with a victory over this guy who only has one defeat and looks good on paper, but will ultimately not even be in the fight.
Yeah, well, I think that this is a little far-fetched. I mean, for a guy that talks the smack he does, and don't get me wrong, I'm agreeing, like some of the comments in the chat rooms and stuff about him deserving an easy opponent, and I'm with it. I get it, and I agree, but this is too much. I mean, there's so many other heavyweights out there that would be a good shake off the ring rust. And then the thing is how good is he if he destroys this guy in 1 round or 2 rounds, or God forbid it goes more? Is he going to get catapulted up in the ratings? Is he going to? I mean, this guy isn't even ranked as a heavyweight. He's ranked as a cruiserweight at number 66 in a division that's slim pickings in the cruiserweight division. So it's sad. It's sad.
Well, it would have been a better delivery, a better prism to look at this fight through would have been if Tyson Fury would have been more humble in his comeback attempt, saying, hey, guys, I'm coming back. I missed the sport of boxing. I'm going to work my way back to get into contention for the heavyweight championship of the world. I'm going to have a couple tune-up fights to get my ring rust off and make sure I'm ready for somebody ranked. If he delivered it like that, there would not be the kind of questions with this kind of fight.
Exactly.
I'm telling you.
I agree. If he didn't talk the smack he talked, same thing. If David Haye didn't talk all the smack he talked and then did what he did, I wouldn't have a problem. If Deontay Wilder didn't pound on his chest and say he's the best in the world, everybody's afraid of him, I wouldn't have a problem. When you talk smack like that, you got to back it up. Tyson Fury's been talking smack since he's retired. And he pulls up this guy. It's like I always say, Sal, if my aunt has balls, should be my uncle. So I mean, come on, come on.
You're funny.
But and here's another one. Here's one for you. And here's the other point. These two guys that I'm going to talk about right now. It's another heavyweight fight that was announced. These two guys, either one of these would have been a more acceptable opponent for Tyson Fury than the guy he chose, okay? 49-year-old former world champion Antonio Tarver, who incidentally, I just want to say this, and no disrespect to Antonio Tarver, but this guy was probably one of the most overrated fighters in the history of boxing. He got lucky with Roy Jones Jr. Show me anything else. Antonio Tarver has been living off that fight for his whole career. I can't believe he's 49 already. 31 wins, 6 losses, and a draw with 22 knockouts. He's been fighting as a heavyweight since his last fight several years ago. This is a guy that's been in trouble, owed the casinos tons and tons of money, got arrested in Florida not once but twice for passing bad checks. I mean, obviously this guy needs money. His son is boxing, which is it looks way better than Tarver ever did. But why he's getting in the ring at 49 years old, I don't know. This means that he's trying to get another possible big payday. Now, who's he stepping the ring with? Travis Kaufman. Travis Kaufman is a fighter that has an impressive-looking record, 31 wins and 2 losses with 23 wins coming by knockout. Of those 33 fights, He's really fought mostly nobodies. He's a built-up fraud of a fighter. He would have been a perfect opponent for Tyson Fury. It was soft touch, a guy that wouldn't have posed any damage, a guy that's been somewhat active in the heavyweight division, a guy that would have legitimately, a win over him, would have gotten Tyson Fury a ranking. Even, maybe not Tarver, but at least Tarver's a name at 49. I don't know. They're fighting in California. I'm surprised that they're even going to let Tarver fight at 49. But the truth of the matter is, a Travis Kaufman, who's not really a killer of a fighter, would have been a much better name and would have given Tyson Fury some bragging rights, Sal. I mean, he could have said, hey, I'm fighting a younger guy. I'm fighting a guy that's only been beaten twice. I'm fighting a guy that's, in the conversation in the current heavyweight picture. Not that he's dangerous, but he's, would have been okay. I think it would have been a more respectable opponent than he chose.
Well, you and I agree on that, and I know that. And like I said, if you're going to be calling out the world champion for your first fight or within a couple of fights, you've got to back it up. But if you just say, hey, like I said earlier, if you want to make a comeback and you tell the world you're going to be back in the contention for the world title as soon as possible, you're going to take a preliminary fight, work some ring rust off, and get comfortable. And it would have been a welcome doormat for him to fight anybody, including me.
But listen, and I agree with you. If he said that, if he said, oh, I'm gonna put the tip of my toe in the pool and ease myself back into this. You can't argue. But this guy's calling out the two champs. He's calling out arguably the top two fighters in the division, saying that he's the champ, that he's the better one, that he could beat him with one hand tied behind their back. And then he picks a guy that's not even a heavyweight, a guy that's, almost a foot shorter than him, a guy that's 9 years at least older than him, and if you want to just go by the year,
But here's where I'm excited. I'm excited about this. This is this guy's opportunity of a lifetime. This is great. I mean, hypothetically speaking, this guy should be like, wow, this feels like a title fight for this guy. And if he's never going to get a title fight, guess what? This is going to be the next best thing. And if he beats Tyson Fury, he's on the world stage and probably going to get ranked. So I think from his perspective, if he could pull it together and have a kind of fight plan, and if he's got the tools to do what he has to do to look at it, hey, and Tyson Fury's not a devastating puncher, so the smaller guy would be, more likely to say, hey, he's not going to hurt me. So, you know what? I like it from the other guy's standpoint. It's a good opportunity for him, and I think he should jump on it. It's not a great opportunity for Tyson Fury because, basically, you know what I'm saying?
I do, and forever looking at things on an optimistic point. That's a great one. But a guy like that, who's not even ranked in the top 20 of his own division of cruiserweight, why not seek out a cruiserweight? The cruiserweight division is hot right now, every place but the United States. I mean, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
It's not the heavyweight.
Well, that's you're speaking like a true American, because that's what the Americans look at. Exactly. Every other country, and like we know, boxing is a world sport. Loves the cruiserweights. It's the United States. The United States is losing its grip on boxing big time, and fighters are being forced to step up. And, the ones that move forward are the ones that are going to fight the big fights more often, and the ones that are going to be left in the dust. Like a guy like Keith Thurman is losing his value, man. This guy is Adonis Stevenson squeaked by and retained his title with a draw on Saturday night. This is the kind of champions, even though he's Canadian, is the kind of champions I don't want to see. Guys that hold belts hostage, and Tyson Fury, and nobody was a bigger fan of Tyson Fury than me, all right? I am a big fan of Tyson Fury, but when you look at the facts and who he's fought, and you can make the argument that the division wasn't as exciting 3 years ago as it is now, he has never really beaten some of the big names that that I mean, look at it this way. He, aside from Klitschko, he never beat a Luis Ortiz like Deontay Wilder did. He never beat a Klitschko. The version of Klitschko that AJ fought was not the same version that Tyson Fury fought. Klitschko fought aggressively against AJ. So Joseph Parker. If you just take the two names, Joseph Parker for AJ and Luis Ortiz for Deontay, and just pull Klitschko's name out of it, both Joseph Parker and Luis Ortiz are better than any other opponent on Tyson Fury's resume. Better than any other opponent. So I mean, for him to suggest that he's going to come back and beat him with one hand behind his back, I think he's been watching The Cowardly Lion a little too much on Wizard of Oz, to be honest with you. But I'm very disappointed at the choice of opponent. I'm very disappointed. But anyway, I got a quick email here before we take a break and get Dax on the phone with us. This is from Joel. He says, hey, Billy C., I'm curious how you and Sal scored the Adonis Stevenson-Badou Jack card. I thought Badou might have eked out a decision, but I'm down for the rematch. I scored at 115, 113 for Badou Jack. I have no problem with the scores. It was a close fight. Dax, Sal, you had it even, but you had it 115, 115, scoring at least one round even. So we're both pretty much on the same page. I mean, it was a close fight, right?
It was a close fight, and I look back, I did score 2 rounds even, and that's how I came up 115, 115.
If you scored 2 rounds even, check your math.
I'm gonna do that. Yeah. Maybe I should. I did it all in my head.
I think, I think so. But anyway, I also the rest of his email says I ordered the small pay-per-view featuring Nico Hernandez in his first fight in Kansas. It was only his 5th fight. It was a good small pay-per-view, and I enjoyed it for only $20. And this is Joel being the promoter. He promotes the fact that he bought the pay-per-view. And once again, he says, everyone, do not forget, if you haven't already, buy the best book out there, Tom Molyneux from It's the Baddest Man on the Planet. It's available on Amazon, Kindle, and you forgot one. It's also available on BarnesandNoble.com or right from me. Joel, we appreciate you always looking out for us, my man.
Joel's the man. You know what? You got to give Joel's a contender. I'll tell you, he's a great guy, and he's a great advocate for the show. He really is.
And all he ever asked for was a damn T-shirt. Did he ever get one or what?
I gave the original. I still, you know what? I had words with Heather over the weekend. We have a shortage of T-shirts. We haven't gotten them in, and I ordered them 2 months ago. So I'm going to follow up and see what's happening. We've just been so busy. I have to really just try to get in touch with my old purveyor and see if the ink is still waiting to settle on a shirt or what. I think I don't know. But once I get those new shirts in, I do want to mail one out to Joel.
I think he got his shirt. I'm just kidding you. But hey, with all the accolades, he deserves it.
He deserves another one.
But no updates. Speaking of the heavyweight division,
I was going to say I'm excited. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say no updates for the for the Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder showdown that we all want to see. No updates on that yet. Last I heard that they were leaning towards having the fight in Las Vegas, but then some comments from Eddie Hearn over the weekend suggested that the fight was going to be in England. I just hope that they're really talking, Sal, because if they're sitting here tweeting different things to make people think that they're actually addressing issues and that it's close and this and that, to leave boxing fans hanging. I mean, could you imagine if other sports did that? If your Yankees was saying, "Well, we're thinking about playing the Red Sox next week. Well, we're not so sure. They want us to come. They want us to come to Boston. I don't know, man. I mean, it doesn't work."
The definitive term would be organized sports.
Yeah, well, Well, you know, the funny thing is that when you get these types of fights with this kind of money on the line, with this kind of interest, you know, the greed factor is like, oh, let's marinate it. We'll make more money, more money, more money. And, you know, in a way, they kick the legitimacy and the historical aspects of the sport of boxing to the curb. And that's what Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather did when they made us wait 5 years and then, you know, gave us a snooze fest laying an egg. The only positive,
100%.
well, the only positive about that is, you know, Floyd made his $150 million and Manny made his 100 or whatever they ended up with. So anyway, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Dax Khan joins us. We'll get his thoughts on the fights over the weekend. So don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Snacking has never been this exciting.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. Before we get going here, I just wanted to give a thanks and a shout out to my man Johnston. Just gave us a super chat, and his super chat says the most recent interview concerning the Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder fight says it's 100% the first fight going to take place in the UK. I always say this, remember what 100% guaranteed in boxing means maybe 50%. But joining us right now, and I'm just curious to know if my man Dax thinks it was as funny as I did with the guy who is technically challenged, more commonly known as Sal Rocky Senecola, holding up notes that he doesn't realize gets displayed reverse. So did you happen to see what the hell he was saying? I'm sitting there watching him holding up these notes, and I'm going, what the? Doesn't he realize that it's like putting it in a mirror and that it's like looking reverse? So I don't know about you, but I looked at it and said, what the hell is he even trying to say? I couldn't make out anything.
What I did, I was cracking up. I was like, no pun intended, the cat who swallowed the canary on this end during our last segment, because I hear in the background all the birds chirping. And they're coming through my chimney, they're coming through the back porch, and it's crazy, right outside my studio. And it's funny. So I said, I wrote a note I was going to show for you, Billy, because I don't know when I hold it up if you see it left to right or right to left. So I wrote it backwards. Would you learn how to write upside down and backwards when you're in life insurance?
Well, next time write it the right way. Maybe I'll see it.
I wrote it here. And it says exactly what I said. Well, boy, I can't see it. Forget about it.
Yeah,
it says my birds are chirping, whatever. Forget about it.
Yeah,
okay,
I think they're like, hey Dax, it's like the cartoon
and the Tweety birds.
He's got that halo of birds chirping around his head because he's here.
It's like when you get. You're knocked out. It's like that.
Dax, the fights this weekend. Let's start off with the Badou Jack against Adonis Stevenson. It was a draw. It ended up as a draw. What was your thoughts on that fight? And also throw in your thoughts on the referee's job as well.
Well, I think Badou Jack gave Adonis Stevenson too much respect early. We know he's always been vulnerable early in those early rounds, as we spoke about on Friday, and that's where his knockdowns and his stoppage loss came from. But, Adonis Stevenson in that first round was in no rush to engage. He had the big left hand cocked, but, he was really curious on exactly what Badou Jack brought with him, and that was overly apparent. Why Badou Jack didn't notice or capitalize on that from the beginning, I don't know. In the fifth round, by then, Badou Jack had already started to come on a little bit, and Adonis Stevenson, he comes to fight inside, and that's not his game. Adonis Stevenson's an outside fighter. He doesn't have that power on the inside. He did well, and he actually took that round, in Jack's wheelhouse, so to speak. But, that should have been a neon sign. On Friday, I stated, after that fifth round, Adonis Stevenson is pretty much spent. After that, he has to stand the outside, and he has to, hopefully set up one good shot, or at least stun a guy to keep them on the back foot and hopefully land something big. I noticed that in the Shukowski fight a couple days before, and he was spent after that fifth round. And why Badou Jack was not capitalizing on that, I don't know. I think Lou Duval, he was, imploring Badou Jack to capitalize on that. Personally, in round 9, I was sensing a knockout for Badou Jack. Jack was snapping ahead of Adonis Stevenson back. Stevenson holding on for dear life. Ian John Lewis is allowing it. He was allowing that so much that, technically, if he was warning correctly the way he should have for the holding, there would have been grounds for disqualification. Then it was the next round, a round after, Badou Jack holds for 1 second, and then Ian John Lewis is all over him. There was definitely a lot of bias in that. There was no way to say there wasn't bias in that. I think, in that 10th round even, Badou Jack won that one big, and it wasn't until that last punch at the end of that round that hurt Badou Jack. Adonis Stevenson, how he landed that shot, I don't know. Maybe Badou Jack got a little overconfident. Then it was pretty back and forth 11th round. I thought Badou Jack won the 12th round. It was a decent fight, but then again, it's like, that fight was Badou Jack's to lose. No, I really think Badou Jack kind of let that fight go away.
I agree. And two things I want to bring up before we move on. Number one, he didn't even get warned. The referee didn't even warn Stevenson for holding, not once. I'm wrong. He warned him about 6 times. Never threatened to take. Never gave him a stern warning, is what I meant. He warned him a couple of times for not holding, for him not to hold. But I think I agree with you. I think he should have gotten a point deducted and been warned that he's getting threatened to disqualification. And the shot that hurt Badou Jack seemed to be a body shot. If you remember when it landed, he kind of his whole stance changed. He crouched down and he was guarding that midsection for the rest of the fight. Something definitely hurt him. And, I don't know if Stevenson saw it or if he was just so gassed out he couldn't do nothing about it.
Yeah, I mean, I seen the punch. It was just a sneaky punch. Adonis was on the ropes. Badou was coming in, and Adonis, he was tired. He was exhausted. It was just more or less, hopefully this lands and I can buy myself a little bit of time type punch. Badou maybe got a little bit lazy coming in. Adonis, definitely I could see how he sensed Stevenson was ready to go. But, and then at the end of the fight, Badou Jack really made a jerk of himself. When Jim Gray is talking to him, not that I'm a Jim Gray fan, but he asked him, how come you don't seem to get these nods in these close fights? And he comes out of his mouth and says, I don't know, because I'm Floyd Mayweather's top fighter and they hate Floyd Mayweather. It's like, Badou Jack, I lost so much respect for you. No, that's not why that happens, because you give away those first rounds. That's why. Yeah. And you come out with something stupid like that. But as for Stevenson, I have a feeling, Bill, Sal, this is going to be his last defense because, yesterday, Ingus Klimas was very vocal when he said, Alexander Bodzik is the mandatory. He is not going to accept any step-aside money, and, so Adonis Stevenson, if and when he gets back into that ring, has to fight Bodzik next. So, I think Badou Jack really blew a big opportunity there on top of that comment, and then on top of the fact that, the more I think about it, Badou Jack, you ducked Dimitri Bivol. You gave that belt up on a Friday because that Monday you had to go into a mandatory purse bid for Dimitri Bivol, who was, your number one challenger, him being the interim title. And then now when you go and you do something like this, your stock has really dropped, in my opinion.
Dax, I had one more question about this fight before I move on. Do you think, and I was talking about this with Sal earlier, I'm totally against a game plan that's designed to actually give up those early rounds. And that clearly was the case. Lou Duval kept saying it in the corner. This is my plan. I'm vision this. It's happening, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end of the night, kind of complain that you didn't win the fight. I could see not putting your foot on the gas pedal 100%, but I made comparisons to fighters like Mikey Garcia and Vasily Lomachenko, who both pride themselves in making sure that they win a round, even during the time they take off. Do you think that if Badou Jack would have followed that rule, so to speak, or that game plan where he would have maybe not had his foot fully on the gas, but had every intention of winning those rounds, it may have not even have been a close fight. He would have gotten the nod. What's your thoughts?
I agree. I can see, having a couple close early feel-out rounds. Obviously, if your opponent is all over you, you have no choice but to fight back. You're not going to really have those feel-out rounds. But Adonis Stevenson wasn't doing anything special. He was jabbing. And, again, I stressed the way he was trying to telegraph that left hand. You could see it coming. Of course, we weren't in the ring. But, I mean, like you said, Badou Jack, even if maybe he would just use a little bit of a flicker jab and kept Adonis Stevenson at a lower a lower volume rate or something like that, it would have went into a different direction. But the fight's over now. Badou Jack really blew his big opportunity. Adonis Stevenson is still the lineal light heavyweight champion of the world, and his time seems to be running out short. So the division's it's hot, it's on fire. So I'm excited for that division future. I'm not excited for that division future if the name Badou Jack or the name Adonis Stevenson is involved at this moment.
Let's move on to the other fight that was on that card, even though it wasn't that card. That got me. That bothered me, the fact. Thoughts on that one?
This is a case of, as I stated on Friday, Gary Russell Jr., a very underrated guy. He's never in that mix when you speak of the top names, but he generally is one of those top names. I also think that this was a little bit of a case of Jojo Diaz Jr. not quite ready to take that step up. Remember, he's only had a couple opponents, of recent that, have been above that B level. Russell, he dazzled JoJo Diaz with that speed. It kind of got frustrated when you're sitting there watching that and you're saying, just punch, kid, do something, just punch. When he did land that body attack of Russell, Russell himself froze, and the lack of experience in these big fights is what I think hurt JoJo Diaz, and the fact that he wasn't able to really see that, when I'm on top of this guy and I'm banging the body, he's freezing up just as much as I'm freezing up when I'm getting tattooed with these jabs. So Gary Russell Jr., he put on a great display. Of course, I don't want to take anything away from that, but the fact that JoJo Diaz Jr. wasn't really letting his hands go allowed Gary Russell Jr. To look a little bit more sensational than what he did. But, I think Russell definitely deserves to be in that mix of the top names. I would love to see him fight the winner of Leo Santa Cruz and Abner Mares. I'd love to see him fight... And as for JoJo Diaz Jr., I think, again, I stated Friday, he has a world title in his future, but, they need to bring him up to a little bit higher level than what he's been at. Not right at this championship level, but he needs to get in there, the top 5 guys, the top 10 guys, and, build up his overall resume a little bit more, get in there with a few different more styles before he takes that step up again. Because if they try and get him into a title fight, another 3 or 4 fights, I see the same thing happening.
Well, this is the problem that we talk about all the time when you overprotect a fighter for so long, and then all of a sudden, poof, you're in there with a world-class fighter like Gary Russell Jr., and even himself, was overprotected on the way up. It's like you're starting over again, But I agree with you about the lack of other punches thrown by JoJo Diaz, but let's give credit what credit's due. Gary Russell was preventing him from doing that with the hand speed and the jab constantly in his face, the movement. And I'll tell you the truth, I was impressed that Gary Russell Jr., who's always known for coming in good shape, I was impressed that he withstood the body attack that was basically a relentless body attack from JoJo Diaz. So I think it says something, exactly what you were saying on Friday, that this guy's name has to be mixed in when you're talking about the elite of the sport. Gary Russell Jr. should be mentioned.
Oh, absolutely, and I don't think. Did you notice? You speak about Showtime. Did you notice? That the commentary on there during that fight about Gary Russell Jr., where they many times they criticized his level of opposition, and early on, yes, his level of opposition was not the greatest. They were a little bit pro JoJo Diaz, but then that sensational win that he scored over Yanni Gonzalez, they had to throw in there and note, well, that was late in Yanni Gonzalez's career. Yanni Gonzalez had a couple big fights after that. The Oscar Escudon, they almost totally ignored that, but they made sure that they mentioned Patrick Hyland, who's a great guy. I know him personally, but he's not an elite fighter. And then what do? They go and do a total 160, and then they try and defend the Vasyl Lomachenko loss. So I don't know what they were trying to do there. They should have just called the action the way it was instead of looking for ways to, criticize one guy, but then they didn't want to sound too critical because he was putting on such a dominant. Made a fool of myself talking about his level of competition, and he's out here just schooling this kid almost effortlessly.
Yeah, he definitely schooled him, and they weren't really giving JoJo Diaz. If you listen to his corner's instructions, it almost sounded like they thought they were ahead on the cards. I don't know, but it was a great fight. I think it was the fight of the weekend. And speaking of a good fight. What was your thoughts on the Warrington upset over Lee Selby? I mean, clearly it was an entertaining fight by 2 boxers who gave it their all. I was wrong. I had picked Lee Selby to win this fight. What was your thoughts on that one?
I picked Selby as well, but I said, despite the fact that neither guy is a big puncher, expect a lot of excitement. And there was a lot of excitement in that fight. I think those 2 cuts really bothered Selby quite a bit. Credit to Josh Warrington. He was able to pin Selby down in place, keep up the momentum, and walk away with the win. Lee Selby, what really went wrong inside there other than those cuts? I don't know. Maybe Josh Warrington was a little bit underrated. Maybe people, just really didn't think he'd be able to rise to the occasion. I don't know, but I enjoyed that fight thoroughly. I thought it was a great fight from start to finish. There wasn't a moment in that fight that I thought was really boring or dull. And truth be told, I actually think that was the fight of the weekend, Bill. I think that was the most exciting fight of the weekend, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it was up there. It was up there. Now, Dax, most people.
No, here's something. Just no. Somebody sent me something this morning, and I'll share that with you later. But it's interesting enough that Josh Warrington's team. Somebody on their team puts out a little video of them celebrating, going to get like some fast food type stuff, and then there's a picture of them all sitting around this little table back at the hotel or something like that, and they're eating French fries and hamburgers, and all of a sudden on there somebody throws down a packet. And another guy picks it up and he says, "Oh, this is great." He opens it up, and then a couple of seconds later, there's a pile of white powder on the table, and all of a sudden, everybody's just grabbing from this pile of white powder.
Okay, I didn't see it, but
I have the video. I'll forward it to you. I have the screenshots of it, and it's like, it's like, really, wow, how whatever you guys were doing, how did you miss this? How did you go out there and put this out like that? But.
Maybe it was edited, whatever. But one other thing I wanted to ask you: most people don't really follow this guy, but I know you're like myself. You like Hiki Budlar, and he came back and picked up or regained or whatever he did. It's hard to follow. He was a champ for so long, but his fight against Ryoichi Taguchi in Japan was another. Barn burner. It wasn't as action-packed, so to speak, as Russell, Diaz, and Warrington Selby, but it was a good one nonetheless. What was your thoughts on that one?
Budlar is one of those, he's that forgotten guy. I think maybe because of the title that he held for so long was the IBO title. But, it was definitely an exciting fight. And Budlar, unfortunately, because he doesn't have that power promoter behind him, hasn't been able to get into the mix. But, it was definitely a good fight. I like Budlar. He's starting to get older. Whether or not he gets a big opportunity. Fights with these little men always seem to take place overseas, and we don't get to see them, so we miss out on a lot.
Yeah, well, that was I was going to say. The reason why he's not so popular is because of the weight class that unfortunately he fights in. So great job with those. Dax, before we let you go, I know that we were talking about the Tyson Fury opponent, and I know you have some feelings about that. I'm totally on to the fact that it's a first fight in 3 years, et cetera, et cetera. But couldn't they have picked a guy that is a legitimate heavyweight? I mean, I know this looks good on paper for him since he's only once beaten, but this is a mismatch. It's such a mismatch that it's dangerous. I think Safari is actually in danger because of the size and weight difference. And
the skill level difference, Tyson Fury, regardless of what people want, what your opinion is of him, he's a former lineal heavyweight champion, irregardless of what stage of Vladimir Klitschko's career. And, Safiri is not exactly, even in the cruiserweight division, a top cruiserweight. So why this was chosen, I don't know. You talk about a soft touch. Yeah, this probably has to be, one of the softest touches that I can ever remember. And, there's been guys, I believe when Andre Ward was first making his return bout, I can't remember off the top of my head who he was going to face, and somebody who was actually better than Fury, and HBO had declined that. And Rob Brand, I think it was, and HBO had declined that. So how come they're allowing Tyson Fury to get away with an opponent of this level? I don't know. Maybe it would even be more acceptable if Tyson Fury was facing Sefer's brother Nuri. Nuri, the 41-year-old who has at least been in there with Marco Huck, Herbie Hyde, Krzysztof Glowacki, Firat Arslan, European champion. So at least there, you could say the guy's been a little bit more rounded. He's been in there with the better competition. But as for Sefer, I can't justify that. There's no way you can justify that.
I mean, it just seems. How can he? What can he get out of winning this? I mean, this was a guy like Sal and I were talking about early in Tyson Fury, bragging that he could beat both Deontay and AJ with one hand tied behind his back, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we all know that he's a talker and it's for entertainment purposes only. But any other legitimate heavyweight, forget the record, would have been more acceptable than this guy. I mean, it just. If he goes from this to an immediate big fight, I mean, that's not fair. Again, it's like the fighters that are working and busting their asses in the gym are being bypassed because promotional companies want to take a guy that's already known so they don't have to promote him. It doesn't make sense for the growth of the sport. It's almost like they focus on the single name guys and they don't care about the continuation of the growth. And at some point, you got to have the younger fighters involved. Otherwise, it's going to end overnight.
I don't see how you'd even shake off any ring rust with a guy like this, especially if you knock him out in 2 or 3 rounds. So how is it even beneficial to Tyson Fury, other than the fact that if he goes out there and blasts this guy out, he'll be able to pound his chest and talk about how I told you I didn't lose anything.
Yeah, but listen.
Then if he goes out there and he looks bad, and let's just say the fight goes the distance, and all of a sudden now his stock really plummeted. No?
Yeah, but look at it this way.
Oh, yeah.
Look at it this way. His sights are clearly on 2 names. AJ and Deontay, right? His sights are clearly on those 2 guys. Those are the big money fights for him, and end of story. Okay, I mean, you could sprinkle in maybe a Tony Bellew over in England, or even I don't even want to mention, but I mean, let's be real. The 2 guys that are in his sights are Deontay and AJ. Now, what does Safari do when he's a foot shorter? He doesn't even come. He's gonna, have to drink gallons of water to weigh 212 for the fight. I mean, what does this do in preparation? It's actually not helping Tyson Fury in any way, shape, or form, except like you just said. Except when he blows him out in 1 or 2 rounds, he's going to pound his chest and say how bad of an ass he was. Because this does nothing in long-term prep for the 2 guys that are in his sights.
Yeah, was it a month or so ago? I heard that it was going to be Kevin Johnson, who was, a guy who Tyson Fury would have.
I heard
even
Briggs
after a layoff, but he would have got some rounds in there.
I heard Briggs. I had heard
Tom Schwartz from Germany, but then all of a sudden they come up with Sefer Safari. So
I had heard that he was going to fight Shannon Briggs, which I thought would have been okay. But anyway, hey, don't forget Manuel Charr is the regular WBA World Heavyweight Champion. So
Manuel Charr is the regular WBA.
That's what I mean. The regular old. I always call the regular old WBA.
Put some mustard on that, man. Put some mustard on that regular.
Hey, you know what? Don't be surprised if that's Tyson Fury's route, that he fights a guy like that to get himself back in. But anyway, Dax, great job as usual. We probably won't get to talk to you anymore this week because we're not doing a live show on Thursday and Friday, so we'll catch you on Monday.
Absolutely, and everybody enjoy the week, enjoy the fights, enjoy the weather.
Yeah, the weather finally turned here in the Northeast, but Dax, we'll talk to you later, brother.
All right, everybody.
Take care, Dax.
Dax Khan. You could check him out, his column up on BillyCBoxing.com, and he was out of business for a couple of weeks, and it's good to see that he's on the rebound in a positive way, Sal.
Yes, he sounds good, looks good, and I knew he'd be up from the count, so that's great.
I still think that Tyson Fury going up against Shannon Briggs would have been a lot better than this guy, but. In any event,
yeah, I know, and like I said, Bill, all I can say is I hope that Sefer Safari realizes and has with his whole camp behind him, saying this is our opportunity. We've got to beat this guy. We've got to rise to the occasion. And even though we're coming in to lose this fight, we're going to show and shock the world, and we're going to be a household name after you beat Tyson Fury. I mean, that's the only thing he should, could, and has to do.
Our trivia question, and don't forget, if you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game, the same game that Alex Perpali uses during our Blast from the Past segment. So I'm going to read the question, and I'm going to give you some hints today. Here's the question. Which boxer had the fewest pro bouts under his belt after having met 5 world champions? Which boxer had the fewest pro bouts under his belt after having met 5 world champions? The hints today are he's a Hall of Famer in less than 25 fights. The question is, having met 5 world champions, but I'll give you a big hint. In less than 20 fights, he actually met 6 world champions, former world champions. So this guy is a no-joke fighter. And the third hint is that, he's a forgotten guy. When you're talking about all-time greats, a lot of people forget this guy, but a very, very top-notch fighter in his own right. So which boxer had the fewest pro bouts under his belt after having met 5 world champions? If you're the first one to know this answer, and email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com. You'll win the prize, which is a Title Bout Championship computer game. And I'm only going to do this question one more day. If we don't get a winner, then I'm going to switch and reuse it at some point. But anyway, on this day in boxing history, May 21st in 1977, Miguel Angel Coelho knocks out Jesse Burnett in the 9th round to win the vacant world light heavyweight title, and it took place in Monte Carlo. Not to be confused with Camaro. It took place in Monte Carlo. On this day in 2005, Alejandro Garcia wins a 12-round decision over Rohoshi Wells to win the vacant WBA World Junior Middleweight title. It took place in Chicago. On this day in 1933, Tony Canzonori wins a 10-round decision over Battling Shaw to win the World Junior Welterweight title. It took place in New Orleans, Louisiana. On this day in 1943, Bob Montgomery wins a 15-round decision over Bo Jack to win the World Lightweight title. It took place at Madison Square Garden in New York City. On this day in the year 2000, Yoel Casamayor knocks out Jung Kwon Beck in the 5th round to win the WBA World Junior Lightweight title. It took place in Kansas City, Missouri. On this day in 1977, Wilfredo Gomez knocks out Dong Kin Yum in the 12th round to win the WBC World Junior Featherweight title. It took place in Puerto Rico. And finally, on this day in 1988, Jose Sanabria knocks out Moses Fuentes in the 6th round to win the vacant IBF World Junior Featherweight title. It took place in Colombia on this day in 1988. Sal, we're hoping that we get some good news tomorrow. Maybe an announcement for a heavyweight fight. But you could be rest assured that Sal and I will be here to talk to you about boxing tomorrow. So make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.